Good day, my wonderful people and friends. I want to start off by showing you this video right here that was released by the Pentagon. This is one of the most recent UFO videos that we have, and what I'm going to be doing is showing how this video here clearly shows these plasmoid entities. Now, while you're watching that, I would like you to look over to the right and see the comparison of old photos taken from the 1970s of UFOs and the photos that Trevor James Constable took. They are very similar, right? But back to this Arrow video, just look at that thing, right? Like it's, you see that tether right there? It's very, very obvious and apparent that that's exactly what this is. And yeah, I'm going to be going through some other things just to show, the similar attributes of these things. They've actually released 2 videos, I think, and I'm watching this video from the Angry Astronaut who has them, but there's another one that will be playing right after this one where you see a anomaly that has like 2 spheroids connected to each other that's actually trying to evade the tracking of the thermal camera. But yeah, this is just, it's so amazing. It's like we're getting closer and closer and closer to the truth just coming out and being known. And as I've said before in many videos, ask yourself why they aren't showing us colored videos like this. Well, if you look at this video right here, you can clearly see, you've got yellows, you've got blue, you've got black, reds. They're very colorful, right? And this is the same exact thing that we see whenever you watch the Plasmoid Anomalies study group videos. All right, correction, this is not actually the second video. This video right here is just showing the movement of your average balloon, right? Like you can clearly see it's that rotational movement. It's, it's got a very understood movement to it, right? It's not something that's just fixed and rigid and, going against the wind many times, right? Like in many of the Plasmoid Anomalies study group videos, you can see these things literally moving the opposite direction of the clouds. It's pretty beautiful. So I'll fast forward this so we can get to the next one. Oh, look at that. We're showing this bad boy again. I guess I'll just let it play. Let her play out. But yeah. Here, actually, yeah. Let's go ahead and speed this up along. It's pretty late over here, but I just feel like I have to continue to attempt to get the truth out to the world because, I've been thinking about something recently a lot, and it's actually like an insult to the population's intelligence, the way that they've been able to make us neglect all of the anomalous and amazing things about our world, right? Like take the ancient civilizations and all the megalithic structures, the precision engineering, that's literally perfect, the clear geometrics and sacred geometry attributes of like stone circles, Stonehenge, the way that it was built is utilizing the golden ratio and a bunch of other mathematics and measurements, metrology, and then like literally it has sacred geometry encoded into its design, and then we have the pre-dynastic vases that have the exact same thing, the exact same type of sacred geometry encoded into its design, on orders of like within the micron of precision, right? Like precision smaller than a human hair, okay? And it's insane. Like even with things like that, or moving 1,000-ton granite block from 500 miles away and then carving these beautiful statues like we find at the Ramses II or the Ozymandias statue. And, people are just like, yeah, well, I guess they just did that with wood. They just got a bunch of wooden rollers from Lebanon, which is 200 miles up, or 500 miles, actually 700 miles when you get down to Aswan, where it's the only spot that wood would have been. And they carried it down and then, brought it on up, but then they neglect like the tensile strength of wood. You know, let's say if we have something that's 1,000 tons or 1,400 tons, right? And you're rolling this big ass block on that through the desert, that wood is literally going to turn to mush within 10 feet, right? So then you have to get more wood, and you're traveling 500 miles. You know, it's, I don't know. I get into arguments with people, well, not necessarily arguments. I just try and, you know, get them to think outside of the box. Like, people are just so caged within the narrative and the agenda. You know, they never question anything. All of this type of stuff is loony, it's cartoony, you know, and I think that's partially because of the programming that's done on everybody's minds. You know, when we're young, it just happens, and people aren't able to think critically, unfortunately. So yeah, like, this is another video that Arrow has, you know, deemed anomalous, you know, which is kind of awesome that they're starting to show us all these things, really. And I have another video that I'd like to show you guys, or actually, we'll go to this again just because I feel like it's important and I really want to drive this this home, or these documents. We have the Project Comden, which is the UK Air Defense Region Volume 2, about natural phenomena or man-made UFOs, you know, plasmoid anomalies. And I think, yeah, so check out this thing right here, you know, this this picture they have, 97, right? And they have a lot more pictures. I wish it was easier for me to find. Actually, I can do this, just so we can scroll through them and see them all, and then go back to looking at the that video again. So here we go. You know, and these are like just amazing. What are these? These earth lights. You know, everyone knows what an earth light is. What is an earth light, right? That's the response from piezoelectric energy. It's like the force of the earth moving granite against each other, or quartzite, creates energy. And when this happens, and this is why people see earth lights before an earthquake, because it's that piezoelectric propagation that sends the lights up, or it's a plasmatic response to that moment. So yeah, this is just showing the regions where these UFOs or plasmoids are seen. And what people need to realize is that these things are like conscious. They have intention. They, you know, as Hans Alvin said in Cosmic Plasma Volume 7, it seems like these plasmas have intention. Oh shit, 1991? Low soft. You see those 3 or 4 dots on there? France, 1974. Look at this one right here, right? All right, so I'm gonna try and do this, see if I can do it properly. Okay, we're just gonna go back here, move this one up above, and then I'm gonna go here. Sorry for the narration. Here we go. Wadata, wada bang. All right. So yeah, now we're gonna look at these two together. And while we look at this, we will scroll through more of these. And I really want you all to just see the similarities and the comparisons, okay? And I really hope that this video isn't all choppy and messed up, because I have so many things going at once. And these are your saucer-shaped craft right here. Your pentagonal craft. Okay, well, yeah, so this is Project Comden. Let's go ahead and take this video off so that it doesn't freeze my sheet. Alrighty, back at it again. Yeah, so these are just some more of the images that they have from this document. And again, you know, the descriptions and characteristics given in this document are the exact same that we find in the famed Immaculate Constellation report. And I think it's so funny that people aren't able to just put these two things together. You know, it's like it does not compute in their mind that literally in this document it talks about these things having appendages being completely rigid, having a rotational movement, going against the wind, having anomalous flares, you know, being spheroid or orb, disc or saucer, oval or tic-tac, triangle, boomerang or arrowhead, irregular or organic, which, irregular shaped UAPs, those that defy simple geometric descriptions, were among the rarest reported sightings. Shape-shifting UAPs also appear in the dataset, typically having a spherical or disc-like base form from which irregular geometries are seen to project. The floating brain or jellyfish UAPs are present as well, characterized by a central mass from which multiple arms or spars hang downward. Finally, combined shapes were also observed, including cubes within spheres, ring saucers, and various rectangular or cuboid forms. It's it's literally all there. And what I also wanted to do is actually see if I can carry this over. Alrighty, let's just ixnay on that, paste. And I'd just like to share this video right here that I've put together, showing the properties of plasma in space. Yeah, so I'm going to be getting a new computer soon because I just cannot deal with how slow this stuff is.
For example, space is permeated by dust. And when a plasma incorporates dust grains, the plasma acquires an electric charge that sucks in electrons which attract positively charged ions, giving rise to plasma crystals, which also contain organic matter including fragments of carbonaceous chondrites. Electrostatic forces and the polarization of the plasma cause these plasma dust crystals to twist, spin, and form helical structures that can evolve into a double helix, similar to the double helix of DNA. Teodorani argues that these helixes can then be replicated in other crystals, and that the self-organizing ability of these crystals can affect other plasmas, which may also form a plasma dust crystal helix. Although theoretical, this exchange of electrical charges could be likened to horizontal gene transfer. These interacting complex structures exhibit thermodynamic and evolutionary features, thought to be peculiar only to living matter, and exhibit all the necessary properties to qualify them as candidates for inorganic living matter that may exist in space. Loznianu and Sangelovichu have proposed that these plasma-like cellular entities constitute an extraterrestrial form of life completely different from life as we know it.
So yeah, there's that. And alrighty, so next what I have to share with you all are, let's break out these notes that I have written down. Here we are. Let's move this out the way. Alright, so here we go. I've shown this before in the last video that I had, and it's basically the report that I wrote discussing these plasmoids. I'll make sure to link that below so that you guys can click on that. But here is a a couple videos that I've made where clearly showing the anomalous features of these plasmoid anomalies. So let's go to here, documents. Yeah, we can just hide notes. Yeah, and it just becomes very obvious if you have the ability to accept or think outside of the box, you'll be able to see it. Yes, you can see this thing like pulsates and then it moves next to the other one. See, it's coming down. These things are going in different directions. And this one flashes. And then the other one flashes. These flares, these anomalous illumination events in the plasmas. And this characteristic is very similar to what we see from squids. They do the exact same type of pulsating or flashing of light. I find it very interesting, honestly. And let's go to another one. Just exit out of this and notes. So let's see. This one's very interesting to me as well. This is the CEO director, or CEO director, the former director of the CIA, discussing what he has seen in his years.
This guy here is the former CIA director. Okay, this is the guy who would be in the know on the phenomena. Top of the brass dude. Not that many people above him.
Who's that?
What he's talking about when he's talking about the phenomenon. He is saying that to presume that it is X, Y, or Z is a little presumptuous, and it's best to look through all the data.
Advance that it is likely X, Y, or Z. You really have to approach it with an open mind, but get as much data as possible and get as much expertise as possible brought to bear.
So at the end of all that sifting and interpreting, what do you think is the most likely hypothesis?
I don't know. When people talk about it, is there other life besides what's in the States, in the world, the globe? Life is defined in many different ways. And I think it's a bit presumptuous and arrogant for us to believe that there's no other form of life anywhere in the entire universe. What that might be is, I think, subject to a lot of different views. But I think some of the phenomena we're going to be seeing continues to be unexplained, and might in fact be some type of phenomenon that is the result of something that we don't yet understand, and that could involve some type of activity that some might say constitutes a different form of life.
But being an agnostic, you don't think it's something supernatural?
Well, supernatural, again, it's the eye of the beholder. Again, I'm not going to discount things. That's why I'm an agnostic as opposed to an atheist. I just want to leave my mind open as to what something might be, but who knows what these things might be.
Alrighty, so that's that. And what did he say? Constitute a different form of life that we might not know. And let's go back to here. Hopefully she plays okay.
Sangeloviscu have proposed that these plasma-like cellular entities constitute an extraterrestrial form of life completely different from life as we know it.
Okay, so that's that right there. If you are able to see or able to comprehend, which unfortunately a lot of people have a very hard time doing, the answer is fairly clear, right? Now let's go to some more videos. Here's a video that I have of the Skywatchers, you know, the Jake Barber, the recent whistleblower, and what they have captured compared to the Plasmoid Anomalies study group videos. And it sounds like my cat wants to get in. Let me go and let her in real fast before she rips up the ground. Let's make sure this plays. All right. Excuse me.
Distance above the ground, and it looked like 8 meters total in distance from top to bottom. The top will look like a mushroom, like a big jellyfish. It was very, very, very bright white and vibrating and flashing, like pulsing. There was like 3 flashing panels, like equal distance going down it. I've seen some the last couple of days through a sensor, so I'd seen them before, so it wasn't like awe-shocking, but it was, you know, kind of taken back to like, oh wow. Really in seeing one, you know, with my actual visual eyes, you know, right here, right above me at 4,000 feet, looked like a jumper under canopy at 4,000 feet, which is the same distance when they pull. So that part is crazy. Then I knew, like, you know, I'm not seeing stuff, there it is. It's the same thing that I've been seeing on sensor. And all the characteristics, you know, were consistent with what a Class 7 should look like.
I wonder if that's the end.
The Class 7 is a jellyfish. It's not the jellyfish you've seen on TV. It's a different jellyfish. We think the head of the jellyfish is about 2 meters in size. We think the tentacles hang down about 3 to 5 meters in size, varying and depending on which one you're looking at. You can see these stills are taken from different jellyfish. You can see this jellyfish, the tentacles look very, very long. On this one, they look shorter compared to the head. As you can see, the nodules on the tentacles light up. And again, this light appears to us to go from head to tail and pulse and light up the nodules as it goes. Also, sometimes it looks like an automaton or something with like an alien movie where it's like the tail kind of hanging out, like it's seeking something. And sometimes it looks like it's a jellyfish in the sky. It seems to undulate as it moves. We have seen these take direct flight paths. Even yesterday, for the first time, we had 2 in formation. We've never seen that before. We chased down one of those 2, and it deviated its flight path as we approximated, and then it elevated directly straight up, as in directly vertical. So the Class 7 is very hard to image, and at distance, it looks very similar to the Class 6, and also the Class 8 at distance. So what you're going to see is it's kind of, I'll call it swimming in through the sky. There aren't a lot of exotic colors. There is reflectivity. But that color you see right there is very akin to the Class 6 when it's not emitting high energy or whatever it's doing. So when it's not vibrating. So we don't know what that means. And you can kind of start to see now the tentacles hanging down as it moves. In IR, they're very obvious. They're less obvious in EO. So we have multiple indications that this is a real object. It is not man-made, and that it is flying through our airspace and does want to avoid us.
At the end of day 2, our psionic team made a bold prediction.
Alrighty. So, yeah, exactly what that was just, you know, being discussed there, right? It's the exact same thing that's discussed in the Immaculate Constellation document and the Project Comden document, and many other encounters. Here's a very interesting encounter of a pilot discussing what he saw and giving a picture. Now remember the attribute of these things with having a appendage or spars coming down from them. This one's pretty long. Sorry, let's make sure this plays out.
And as I'm turning, I mean, it didn't stop there. It cut right in front of me. That's why my report was a near miss. It was really close. It was right in front of me. And as I'm continuing to turn, it comes off my on my left side. And I got a good look at it at that point. It was a very strange looking thing that if you looked at it, you would say, this is not an aerodynamic object. There's no way this should be in the air. It was maybe 3 feet wide, 6 feet tall. It had a very luminous top to it. I couldn't really see the details of it, but underneath that luminous top was a half super black hemisphere that was just non-reflective black. And underneath that was this spike of an antenna. It looked like not a normal antenna. It was like this big gray spike that came down out of it, maybe 6 feet long, and it had these, it was gray, and it had these greenish gray plates on it, maybe 4 or 5 of them along the length of the spike. And this is all happening very quickly. I mean, we're talking seconds here. And at that point, my passenger yells to me, hey, 2 more just came out of the cloud above us. And that's when I started to freak out. The hair literally stood up on the back of my neck, and I felt like we were in some sort of an ambush, that we had been observed, and and this was like the culmination of it, where all of them came together to see us somehow. And I told him, we're getting the hell out of here. I pushed the nose down as we came around the turn to head back to the airport.
This interview just blows my mind. I mean, that is just an unbelievable encounter. Just can't imagine it. I mean, what is your response to that? I can't understand what a debunking response would be to this. You know, Bob is a credible pilot. He had 200 glider hours. He has over 100 Cessna hours. So he's not like a commercial airline pilot, you know, flying thousands of hours on autopilot, etc. But he is a 200-hour glider pilot, which he understands visual flying. He understands the wind, understands this couldn't be a balloon, you know, couldn't be a drone at the speeds it's flying, at least a drone as far as we understand it. And this is his passenger's sketch, so made the day of. So when they came back and landed, they go through it in the interview. And again, the NTSB investigators, they ask amazing questions. So I really recommend you watch the full interview, link in the description, and share with your friends, especially your skeptic friends. You know, how do they explain this interview? So the passenger, it was his first time in a glider, but just from his sketch here.
Alrighty, so exactly. That's just, you know, more corroborating evidence showing that, you know, these things are happening and they're very anomalous. And just one more time, I'd like to share this video with you guys of the recent Arrow video that they've released of their anomaly. And just to give props to
that bothered me. According to Arrow, the All-Domain
the Angry
Anomaly
Astronaut.
Resolution Office received a report
Listen to
from
what
the
he
U.S.
says.
military service consisting of 1 minute and 36 seconds of full motion video footage captured by a camera aboard a U.S. military platform in the Middle East in 2024. According to the reporting service, this recording likely depicts a slow-moving spheroidal object. Arrow assesses with high confidence that the object depicted in this video is almost certainly, with a greater than 95% likelihood, of a consumer.
I'm gonna try and pause this at a good spot so we can see some of those. Alright, right here. You guys, I hope you had just seen it, but you saw that spar or the appendage coming off of it. Let's see if I can find it right here. And every single one I click is just like not on the screen at all. Okay, we'll just keep playing it through. But yeah, it's definitely there, very apparent. You know, you've got this hanging thing that is, you know, of a rigid characteristic. Which, you know, what could it be? Is it something that's connecting to the Earth? You know, does it have something to do with like electromagnetic energy, kind of like how lightning strikes and it goes straight down or something? You know, is that something to keep it? You know how like if you guys have ever gone to a fair or to an amusement park, the bumper cars, how they have that thing above the car that's connected to the electrified roof. What if it's something like that? You know, but just in a plasmatic manner that interacts with the ether or with the Earth's energetic resonance. Like, look at this thing. It's so interesting. And when you look through all of the videos that you know, Plasmoid Anomalies study group have, and many of the other people who film these things, it's yeah, it's basically the exact same thing. And yeah, so there's that. And what I wanted to do is just finish this off with this video. You guys can all check it out. It's on Eyes on Cinema. You know, this is 50 minutes of old footage and photographs taken of these UFOs. I won't play the whole thing just because it's like 50 minutes long, but we'll fast forward a little bit and just see if we can find, you know, just some of the anomalous ones. And of course, I've shown these video right here. This is from the STS missions, the space missions where they're filming these plasmas. And there are other instances where they encounter these things, not just at the tether experiment, but, you know, other STS missions where they're seeing this. And even more so, you have the space commander's depiction of what they're seeing, you know, and they talk about seeing these luminous things shooting out of the atmosphere or flying around them, seeming like they're checking them out. It's so interesting, and I just love this. I love everything about this. Here's another one, you know, where you see a disc-like object that's just hovering, and when you look over at the right, you know, of these pictures that I've been having going on a loop, you know, the idea that these things could just be some sort of organic being, you know, but they look metallic, right? Just because something looks metal doesn't mean that it is metal. Yeah, and I think that's something very hard for a lot of people to accept. You know, people are so hell-bent on this mechanistic idea that all of these things have to be nuts and bolts. But, you know, when you start looking at many testimonies, you know, high-level officials, you know, they speak of these things seeming like they're alive or like they were breathing, like the pulsation of light is like what you would see in a organic being. You know, our perspective of reality is very tiny, and it's honestly very controlled, considering everything that we're exposed to and given at a young age. So these kinds of paradigm changing ideas are very hard for many people to digest. But regardless of that aversion to it, the fact still remains that, you know, this is what it's looking like. And as I've said before, when you start to go through all of the evidence and research around the phenomena, it paints a very clear picture. Now, the nuts and bolts aspect, I'm not against, and I mean, after watching, you know, the MH370 teleportation videos and all of the evidence showing that was a real event, you know, going from the person who leaked the video, from how the video was captured, what the technology was used, to why they did it. It's very real. And then you have many other cases of people encountering these ships, or you have military whistleblowers talking about going into bunkers and seeing these things, you know, going back to like the 1950s. I really think that they do have this technology. Now, where's the comparison? The comparison is how these things move and operate. You know, they utilize the ether, or as Wilhelm Reich discussed, the orgone energy. You know, it's that 0 point field that would give free energy, anti-gravity, the manipulation of space and time. And what it also is it's the space that our consciousness and our thoughts exist in. This is how people have the ability to remote view, or you know, things like telepathy or clairvoyance. It's because this field is the exact same thing that our consciousness is from. You know, we are not just these bodies and, you know, experiencing life. We are consciousness, which is in fact plasma. You know, it's a form of plasmatic energy that is inhabiting these physical bodies. And the craft that we have created, or not we, but, you know, the DoD and other people, and even the extraterrestrial races that exist, you know, like the Mahad Hitshed, the Israel Space Defense Director, and the Canadian minister, claim that there's a galactic federation that is waiting for humanity to understand what space and spaceships are before making contact. And now, what would space be? Well, space is the, you know, the layer above the ether, the layer above the 0 point, that subspace field, right? That's what space actually is. When you know, you talk to scientists about dark matter, they say it's this very strange thing that exists everywhere, and it seems to have its own energy. Well, that's, you know, a reflection, I guess you could say, of the ether. And the very interesting thing is he distinctly says what spaceships actually are, right? And then it's like, okay, well, a spaceship is just some ship that, you know, some beings made that can fly through space. Well, everyone knows that, you know, but what's the other idea? That these things are alive in some way. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot, and how would they be alive? So, we all know what free energy is, right? Like, and we all know that so many people get killed if they create it, right? You gotta understand that, and you have to know that. What if it's possible that if you imbue something, or if you power something with this 0 point energy, that a consciousness, disembodied consciousness from that space is able to inhabit that thing, right? So then you would have, you know, a conscious craft. You know, it's being powered by this 0 point energy, and it has, you know, this consciousness that's in it, because the entire universe is conscious. Everything is conscious, you know, going down to the smallest point to the largest point. It all follows this, you know, great design, this geometric, sacred geometry design. Everything has it, you know, as above, so below. Yeah, so it just makes sense to me that that's a way that these things could be alive. And it gets very strange when you start thinking about things like AI, right? So let's imagine that we have this quantum AI, and it's powered, it has free energy powered by the ether. What would that do? Is that possible that it would just, you know, it could be like a full-on being, you know? These questions really, I love to speculate thought experiments on these types of ideas. It's super, super interesting. But at the same time, with that, you know, we also have your spontaneous plasmas that, you know, create these shapes. And, you know, plasma being this fourth state of matter, being powered by this etheric field or pulling energy from it. This is how these things seem to have intention and consciousness. And this is where, like, the anomalous things, these globular or jellyfish looking things come from, is because it's a disembodied consciousness coming into our realm. by electrically charging matter and space dust and creating this form. You know, and it really makes me think about, like, you know, like the ancient, I guess, biblical depictions of, like, you know, the Book of Enoch, the wheel within wheel, or the cherub. You have all of these weird looking things, the burning bush, you know, all of these things, they can be depicted as plasma, smokeless fire, as the jinn were depicted as being. Day Mayo, 20th, Day Mayo, it's my birthday, if it's May. But dang, I lost my train of thought, shoot. But yeah, so when you start like really digging into this thing, all of these ancient stories and texts and stuff, and maybe even like other phenomena like gnomes or fairies or something like that really start to make sense. It's like, okay. And also, you know, you have the different interactions that people have with these things. You have good interactions, you have some bad interactions, you have some benign, you know. It's possible that there are different levels of consciousness that exist in this field. You have some that are very intelligent, godly intelligent, omnipotent, and then you have some that are just kind of living. You know, they are like reacting, right? And it would be, you know, it's the same as our ecosystem here. You know, you have different levels of consciousness on our planet. You know, you have a bug that just knows, I'm going to go here and eat this. Or you have a human that can literally look at the bug, count its legs, understand where it came from and everything, right? Think about this in the same vicinity of these plasmas, right? It could be the exact same thing as that. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, and also work on my communication skills about all these different things, because as I said before, I think it's the most interesting and wonderful aspect of reality that we can grasp onto, aside from, there's, you know, of course, the megalithic structures all over the world. And I'll just throw this out there really fast. I was thinking about this the other day, and how, you know, when you look at Pumapunku or Tiwanaku, and also Elephantine Island, you look at some of the other megalithic structures in Egypt and even in Turkey, you see this type of destruction going on, right? You see that these megalithic blocks that some are weighing, you know, 20 tons, 50 tons, 100 tons, are literally blasted apart and scattered everywhere. This isn't from somebody coming there and, you know, hammering them and then taking a 50-ton block and throwing it 50 meters one way, then taking another one, throwing it 100 meters the other, or, you know, whatever. It's what is very obvious is that this is some sort of cataclysmic event, you know. And what I've been and also what we see is vitrification on these granite blocks. Vitrification meaning intense heat. To melt granite or quartzite, you need a heat excess of like 5,000 degrees, right? So now, you know, solar energy, maybe like a solar flare or lightning. When you start looking into like the land of Chem, what he has been postulating are that a lot of these sites and ancient mounds are actually in some way able to affect the atmosphere and cause lightning to strike in those areas. But I've been thinking about this, and what if, you know, during this cataclysmic event, be it 12,000 years ago or even longer in the past, is it possible that it could have been some sort of pole shift that happened, right? So let's say if these structures, they're all connected to the ley lines and the geomantic energetic points of the earth, you know, they're doing something with that. What if when a pole shift happens, not only do we have this massive flood come through, but the energies at these areas got discombobulated and messed up, causing them to, you know, overreact or something and just explode. You know, you have this chaotic moment of energy and high heat happening, which is what caused a lot of destruction at these areas. I don't know. That's just something that I've been pondering for a little bit, and I'll probably do a more detailed video on that idea, showing these sites that have, you know, been destroyed, not by human hand. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. It's probably a pretty long one, but I don't mind at all, and I hope you don't mind. I hope that the information that I'm providing here is interesting, and I hope that I give you all the ability to do your own research into this and find these things out for yourself. And with that, I cannot wait to see you all in the next video. Much love. Peace out.